Good afternoon, friends. This is Alter Waker. Welcome back to this channel. Humans, today we are going to review this book called Art of War by Sun Tzu. This book was written over 2500 years ago, and Sun Tzu was an ancient Chinese military general and strategist in East Asia. His successfully military career led to the conception of this book. Now, this is a very old book, but I read this book by after listening to a video of Bill Gates, which he recommended that every person should read this book. Then I ended up reading this book. It's a very short book, consists of around 160 pages, and the book is basically war strategies divided into exactly war plans. The contents of the writings are very simple, like laying plans, waging wars, attack by stratagems, tactical disposition, energy, weak points in strong, and different. So, as I always say, this book needs multiple readings, and this is a very simple book, but it has a lot of metaphorical meaning in life. So you can't understand in one go, and how do you apply this to real life? It's very uh, subjective, but you have to read it multiple times so that you can get the gist of the book. So let's dive. We will study one line from one chapter. There are around 13 chapters. So let's go. Chapter 1, Laying Plans. Point number 18. It says, all warfare is based on deception. All warfare is based on deception. Can you understand? This book is 2500-year old, and it talks about the person, the people. So back then, we have a notion that people back those ages did not understand psychology, but we can sense that Sun Tzu understood it. All warfare is based on deception. He knew how to make fool of other peoples. Now, 19th point stays, hence we are able to attack. We must seem unable. When using our forces, we must seem inactive. When we are near, we must make the enemy believe we are far away. When far away, we must make him believe we are near. You see, Sun Tzu talks everything paradoxical. He says one thing and does other thing. Now, let's see chapter 2, point number 7, which says that it is the only one who is thoroughly acquainted with the evils of war that can thoroughly understand the profitable way of carrying it on. Reading this book, we can sense that Sun Tzu had a shadow inside his, and he knew how evil the wars are, but he rationalized it, and he knew when to bring out your evil back and when to not. He knew the person who conquered his evil could win the war. He knew no rational thoughts, no moral compass could make the war win. Now, chapter 3 talks about attack by stratagem, which talks about different strategies. Now, chapter 3, point number 8. It is the rule in war. If our forces are 10 to the enemy is 1 to surround him. If 5 to 1 attack him. If twice as numerous, divide our army into 2. If equally matched, we can offer battle. If slightly inferior in numbers, we can avoid the enemy. If quite equal in every way, we can flee from him. You understand, like Sun Tzu talks that if there are 10 enemies surrounding, if 5 attack him, if twice divide the army. And he also understands he doesn't shy away from running. He knows there is no point of ego and nothing all that. He knows that if there is if if we have to win the war, running is fine. We can run away from the war. To win the ultimate battle in the war, we can lose some battles. Now there are such a lot of things that we are skipping the chapters, but the book is really mind bending. Now, chapter 5.1, Sun Tzu said, the control of a large force is the same principle as the control of few men. It is merely a question of dividing up their numbers. Now he says that army कितनी भी बड़ी क्यों ना हो, if it's 100 or 50 or whatever, every man had this point that how do you control? In ancient time, how did they control such a big army? How did they had such a discipline? So he talks that he says that it is a merely question of dividing up their numbers and using signs and signals. Now, point number 8 says, now Sun Tzu gets more philosophical in this chapter, energy. Since he has to like explain a lot of things, we're also going to include point number 6, which says that there are more than 5 musical notes, yet the combination of these 5 give rise to more melodies than can ever be heard. There are not more than 5 colors, blue, yellow, red, white, and black, yet in the combination they produce more hues than can ever be seen. There are not more than 5 cardinal tastes, sour, acrid, salt, sweet, and bitter, yet combination of them yield more flavors than ever be tasted. In the battle, there are not more than 2 methods of attack, the direct and the indirect, yet these two in combination give rise to endless series of maneuvers. The direct and indirect lead on each other in turn, it is moving in circle, yet never come to an end. Who can exhaust the possibility of their combination? Now you see, Sun Tzu doesn't talk about every pragmatic thing. He gives a philosophical insights, and he is a dark poet. He knows how to convey the message, how to convey the ideas. He talks about like there are only two methods of war, two methods of attack and defense. But attack and defense can culminate to different kinds of art forms. Like there are different kinds of martial arts, kung fu, chut kundo, taekwondo, but these are all based on the maneuvers of hands and legs. But this combination creates so many different types of attacks. You see, that is very beautiful writing here. I'm sorry, I need to look back again and again to remember which points to tell you in this book, because the book is very big. Now, a more philosophy in chapter 6. Chapter 6 talks about weak points and strongs. Now he says, point number 31, water shapes its course according to the nature of the ground over which it flows. The soldier works out his victory in relation to the foe whom he is facing. Therefore, just as water retains no constant shape, so in warfare there are no constant conditions. He who can modify his tactics in relation to his opponents, thereby succeed in winning and may be called a heaven born captain. This you see right there is Bruce Lee philosophy. You can see it talks about shape shifting your ideas, shape shifting every time the enemy understands you, changing. He talks about inevitable change should be there in a man's psyche. He should be changing his attacks and everything. So, same in life, he talks that everyone should continuously be changed. Same like water, which doesn't retain a shape. Now, chapter 7, point number 13, which is about maneuvering. We are not fit to lead an army on the march unless we are familiar with the face of the country, its mountain, forest, its pitfall, precipice, its marshes and swamps. We shall be unable to turn natural advantage to account unless we make use of local guides. Now he understands the person who knows the geography of the country needs to be the leader. He needs to be in the front. Unless he is in front, he doesn't know where to lead. He knows that the person who is there in front should know about everything, every mountains, everything, every turn. Or else he will simple things that not simple people cannot be promoted above. Now, chapter 8, variation in tactics. When in different country, do not encamp. In country where high roads intersect, join hands with your allies. Do not linger in dangerous isolated positions. In hemmed-in situation, you must resort in stratagem. In desperate position, you must fight. Chapter 9, point number 30. Now, this is a very simple thing he says. If those who are sent to draw water begin by drinking themselves, the army is suffering from thirst. He says that जिनको पानी लाने के लिए भेजा गया है, अगर वो ही लोग सबसे जाके पहले पानी पी रहे हैं तो पूरी आर्मी थर्स्टी है. You see, he comments on a whole collective consciousness of the army. He understands that. Now he says if enemy sees an advantage to be gained and makes no effort to secure it, then the soldiers are exhausted. अगर आर्मी अटैक करने के लिए तैयार है और वो अटैक नहीं कर रही तो आर्मी ही एग्जॉस्टेड है. Now, here are some Machiavellian kinds of thing which he talks about. We cannot say Machiavellian, but Sun Tzu is like other genre itself. But point number 42 says, if soldiers are punished before they have grown attached to you, they will not prove submissive. And unless submissive, then will practically useless. If when the soldiers have become attached to you, punishments are not enforced, they will still be useless. He talks about that soldier के साथ एक रिश्ता बनाना is not good for an army. They will not be submissive and they will not follow orders. So you should keep a healthy distance. It also can work in a co-working places. You should not make friends with the people you are working. Next point he says, therefore soldier must be treated in the first instance with humanity, but kept under control by means of iron discipline. This is a certain road to victory, he says. Now, let's go to chapter 10, point number 16. When the common soldiers are too strong, their officers are too weak. The result is insubordination. When the officers are too strong and the common soldiers too weak, the result is collapse. So you see, he understands that ऑफिसर्स कैसे होने चाहिए और छोटे ऑफिसर्स कैसे होने चाहिए. छोटे ऑफिसर्स अगर ज़्यादा स्ट्रांग होंगे तो इनसबऑर्डिनेशन होगा. If they are more instant, they will able to dominate the above. But if above is more dominant than the below, the whole war army collapses. This occurs in society, also in war, also at anything, any workplaces where they require a lot of team efforts. When the higher officers are angry and insubordinate and on meeting the enemy give battle on their own account from a feeling of resentment before the commandant in chief can tell whether or not he is in position to result, the result is ruin. Now the book is quite difficult to contemplate, but let's go to chapter 11, the 9 situations it talks about. Point number 18. If asked how to cope up with a great host of enemy in orderly array and on the point of marching to the attack, I should say, begin by seizing something which your opponent holds dear. Then he will be amenable to your will. He says that जो आदमी की मटेरियलिस्टिक नीड उसको प्यारी है, सपोज कर उसको तलवार है, वॉट एवर यू कैन से हिज वाइफ और वॉट एवर, नॉट मेंशनिंग वाइफ इज अ मटेरियल हियर, but we are saying, he says, begin by seizing something which your opponent holds dear, then he will be amenable to your will. He understands the point of love and point of affection, how much it is important to control the enemy. Now there are lots of wisdom here, but we cannot absorb everything. As Nassim Talib says, never use borrowed wisdom. But first you need to evaluate this in your life, then only you can understand it, how to use this in a particular situations. Now moving on to the next chapter, chapter 12 talks about the attack of fire. Now the attack of fire directly talks about, talks about direct attack of fire. He says there are 5 ways of attacking with fire. The first is to burn soldiers in their camp. The second is to burn the stores. The third is to burn the baggage trains. And the fourth is to burn arsenals and magazine. And the fifth is to hurl dropping fire amongst the enemy. You see, he understands किसको कब जलाना है, किसको जलाना चाहिए. Like such, if the enemy is attacking, the soldiers can get confused what to do, what to not, if they dominate them. But he understands that पहले कैंप में आने के बाद first burn the camp of the soldiers so they cannot sleep. Second, burn the store so they don't have any food or supplies. Third is to burn their baggages and trains so that they cannot move. The fourth is to burn their arsenals and magazines so they cannot attack. And the fifth is to hurl dropping fire among the enemy. And last May he talks about attack the enemy with fire. The book is so insightful that first time I had read it, it had me in goosebumps. I read it around 1 or 2 years back. Anyway, I think this is enough for today for Art of War. I think in future we will again review this book with more details and more important points. I hope you love the recitation of the Art of the War. These are a few points that I think are very important and which I think I tick them so that you, for people who have not read the book, may understand it and would love to read it after this. So let's meet again in our next video. We'll review another book. Till then, please like and subscribe the channel. If you love this content, please share it and we'll meet again and talk more deeply into more philosophical people and decide more their thoughts and processes, which helps us imbibe energy in our life. Thank you.